There are countless artifacts on display in museums worldwide. It can be fascinating looking at old, unique, or weird artifacts. Yet, some museums have much different items on display. Items that attract guests from all across the world and leave their visitors shocked, which is exactly what we'll be looking at today. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 creepiest things found in museums, part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 already, then check that out as well. Like, come on, you have a lot of free time on your hands, go watch that video. Starting off this countdown, we have the pregnant cat. Now, if you are a big cat lover, maybe this museum isn't for you. In the Grant Museum of Zoology, you'll be able to find a variety of cool artifacts, from a jar of moles, like the animals, not the skin moles, a jar of brains, and even a pregnant cat that has been cut in half. In the museum, there is a perfectly preserved cat in fluid that is sliced open. The cat only has its 2 limbs, and you can clearly see its internal organs. According to the museum, this is the object that disturbs the visitors the most. Moving on to number 9, we have the wax heads. To combat boredom and isolation, a UK museum went to Twitter and asked museums to share a creepy piece from their exhibits. The Platt Hall Museum responded with this entry. At the Platt Hall Museum in Manchester, England, they have creepy wax heads on display. What makes it worse is that these wax heads are made from real human hair and teeth. Because they're old, their skin is peeling, which then makes them look that much more terrifying. They all just have this creepy grin like they're up to no good. And apparently this museum is filled with other creepy dolls, but these ones are ranked the creepiest. And I understand why. In our 8th spot, we have Ruby. Ruby is a very old doll who is suspected to cause illness to its owners. Being over 80 years old, it was first given to a family whose child then passed away from tuberculosis. The family believes that their daughter's spirit attached to the doll after her death. Apparently, Ruby is believed to have caused sickness for generations. Ruby was given to the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult, where it's still on display. Coming in at number 7, we have the feet. The Mutter Museum in Philadelphia is filled with odd and disturbing artifacts. One artifact that grosses out a lot of visitors is a jar containing amputated feet. These were the feet from a 45-year-old man that suffered from type 2 diabetes. They were collected in 2012 by the donor who was still alive. They are perfectly preserved in a jar containing ethyl alcohol. So according to the museum, the donor had type 2 diabetes. It ended up damaging the nerves in his feet and arteries in his legs. This led to injuries and sores that didn't heal, and as a result, he had to get his feet amputated. They're pretty gross looking, especially since the skin is just peeling off the toes. Ugh. In our 6th spot, we have the foot binding. The practice of foot binding was very common in Tang Dynasty China. Those who got their feet bound were considered more beautiful, and it communicated wealth and a higher status. So basically, they would have their toes broken and folded under their feet, and then their feet were bound so that they appeared tinier. Well, an actual foot from a woman who had her feet bound is on display in the Mutter Museum. This woman's feet broke right off due to the binding and then frostbite. When this happened, the patient had her feet preserved in lime and wanted to have them put on again. When she was told they couldn't be reattached, she gave one foot to her doctor and the other to an officer. From there, the doctor donated the foot to this museum, where it remains on display. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the head. Alright guys, don't lose your head over this next one. But the head of the French serial killer Henri Desiré Landru is on display at Hollywood's Museum of Death. Between 1915 to 1919, Landru killed 7 women. Later on, he killed 4 other individuals. Apparently, he would use Lonely Hearts ads to lure widows to his house, then he would chop them up and burn their bodies in his oven. As a result of his crimes, he was executed by the guillotine in 1922. From then, his head was saved and is now on display, and it looks pretty terrifying. In our 4th spot, we have the Crone. The Crone is a supposed haunted wooden figure on display at the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult. The figure is of a person with nails in its eyes and a noose around its neck. 2 hikers found this artifact in a cave in the Catskill Mountains. They took it home, and apparently weird paranormal activity occurred. Objects would move around in their home, faucets would turn on by themselves, and they would find unexplained wet footprints around their home. First off, you kinda had it coming if you thought it was a good idea to bring that creepy object home with you. They gave this artifact to the museum after seeing an apparition of an old naked woman in their living room. But even at the museum, the paranormal activity won't stop. The owners, Dana and Greg, claim that they too witnessed the wet footprints, and sometimes the museum's lights flicker on and off. Furthermore, two men that mocked the figure almost died that night after skidding out of control into oncoming traffic. Now the figure is locked away and no longer on display. In our third spot, we have the plague mask. This creepy looking mask is what people would wear back in the day during the plague. Back then, doctors and citizens had no clue how the plague was spread. They thought maybe it was from contaminated water or from foul air. As a result, they would wear this protective mask. The face is covered by a cotton velvet mask, and the wearer breathed through the beak, which contained herbs or sponges soaked in vinegar. It was thought that this would filter out the bad air. Then there were glass lenses that covered the eyes in case the illness spread by eye contact. Like, can you imagine that? Just looking at someone in the eyes and then getting sick? That would be terrible. There was also a cloak-like leather piece to wear with the mask to cover the entire body. But can you guys imagine if we had to wear that right now? Like, that would suck. Plus, these things look terrifying. Moving on to number 2, we have the Museum of Mummies. For those of you who have watched the movie Night at the Museum, what's one museum you would love to spend the night in? Keep in mind, all the exhibits would come to life just like in the movie. Let me know in the comments below. I don't know what museum I would choose, but I know which one I wouldn't choose. El Museo de las Momias, aka the Museum of Mummies, is a museum in Mexico that contains over 100 mummified bodies. Now, how did they get so many? Well, from 1865 to 1958, a town in Mexico made relatives pay a grave tax. If you couldn't pay it for 3 years in a row, then your loved ones were dug up and evicted from their spots. They would then move these bodies to a spot underneath the cemetery. They eventually dug up so many bodies that they just formed a museum. What's disturbing is that some of the mummies have creepy, distorted, twisted faces. But because of the dry soil conditions, they were all well preserved. Creepy, but well preserved. And in our number 1 spot, we have the human colon. I swear, the Monroe Museum is home to the creepiest artifacts, including a 9-foot-long human colon. This human colon belonged to a 29-year-old man and circus performer known as the Human Balloon. When he passed away, doctors discovered that his colon was 28 inches at its widest point, 9 feet long, and contained about 40 pounds of feces. How did this happen? Well, apparently this man suffered from chronic constipation. He could go up to months without having to go to the bathroom, and that's why I have a bowl of Raisin Bran a day. As he got older, his condition got worse, and now his colon is an artifact. And that's all for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shoutout portion. I'll be shouting out comments from my video, Top 10 Crimes That Were Solved by Psychics. Lily Rose Wood commented, "Do you like tacos or nachos?" Taco nachos. You're onto something. What if we put nachos inside of our tacos? Okay, I think I gotta try that out now. Quiet Creeper 3 commented, "I had a dream that my dog was taking me for a walk instead of me taking my dog for a walk." Hey, maybe that's what dogs dream about. I don't know, like taking their owners for a walk and being the master of the house, who knows. Danny Robertson commented, "Oh my gosh, this was on my b-day. I didn't see it and my favorite host is in the video. Well, happy belated birthday." And that's all the comments I'm showing out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shoutout. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see you. But the head of the French serial killer, Henri Desiré Landry, he's French, so it's like Henri. Okay. But the head of the French serial killer, Henri. It just sounds stupid when I say it. Henri. Between 1915 to 1919, two hikers found this artifact in a cave. Two hikers found this artifact in a cave in the El Museo de la Momias.